especially those of you on Facebook with our live feed. We are doing our usual Warren and Will's Wild Wine Reviews. I think it's 25, 26.
Live once again.
I don't keep track of the number. I should, but what are you going to do?
Right.
So today we are doing Ridge Vineyards Three Valleys 2018. Now last week you would have heard me say that we're going to do Ridge and that we're going to do their cab, but it turns out I don't actually have a bottle of their cab. I don't remember drinking it, so I'm like, did somebody get into my cellar? It's gone. But I have several other Ridges, so I got this one. It's an interesting blend with 70% Zinfandel, 14% Petit Syrah. That's a lot of Petit Syrah in a blend. 12 Carignan, and 4 Matiro.
Also known as Mourvedre.
And 14.5% alcohol. So
Sonoma Zin blend.
Yeah. So again, this is Ridge Valley. This is Ridge Vineyards Three Valleys 2018. It's an interesting blend. I would not call it a Bordeaux blend.
No. The opposite.
So the Vivino stats are it gets 4.1 stars out of over 3,000 reviews. Yeah. And the ABV, I already said that was 14.5, and the average price is a very reasonable $29.99.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can still get the 2018, but you can get the 2019, the 2020.
Right.
So let's see, they harvest this wine this particular year. I got the notes on this year. They have the notes on every wine that they have made about when it was harvested, how long.
And they put it on the label.
They put it
on the back label too.
I actually haven't looked at the back label today. I should. But it was harvested in late September and then were left on the grapes for 9 days to ferment to get the full extraction from the grapes.
So it's going to be very, very dark.
Yeah. And so there's a bit more information on these guys. They know what they're doing. You can actually look at their stuff, get their history. So the history of this particular, they have 22 vineyards altogether. I don't know if they own them all. They clearly own some of them, but others from the way they're like, these farmers have been on this for generations. Makes me think that they're getting the grapes from those folks, and that those folks own the land and the grapes until they turn them over.
Right.
So to give you the history, in 1885, Dr. Osea Perron bought 180 acres near the top of the Montebello Ridge. Then in 1940, William Short purchased the abandoned winery. Like most wineries in California, it was abandoned during Prohibition.
Yep.
And there was also a vineyard just below theirs and they planted Cab Sauv so that they would then have the Monticello cab, which is one I thought I was bringing, which is a really nice cab, and $300 a bottle versus the $30, 100 times, or not 110 times that. And then they made their first Zin, which is what they're actually really known for in 1964.
Okay.
Well,
wow, that late,
They do a great cab, yeah. So they started before the Judgment of Paris.
Right, yeah.
Now, Ridge calls its approach to winemaking pre-industrial. They find intense, flavorful grapes, intrude in the process only when it's necessary to draw the fruit's distinctive character and richness into the wine. Their philosophy, this is I'm quoting them more or less, their philosophy comes from the techniques used in the finest 19th century California wineries and Bordeaux chateaus.
Yep, non-interventionist winemaking.
They do not blend, they do their blending. Here's the part I really like.
Yeah.
They do it blind.
That's awesome.
They take their grapes and make blind blends, drink them, and then decide what they're going with.
Well, what they do they make the blends blind, or do they like?
I didn't get that level of info. That would have been nice.
That would. I mean, if it were double blind, that would be amazing. Yeah. If it were single blind, that's
still impressed.
Cool. Oh yeah,
I've never heard of anybody doing that.
For sure.
I know for me, I haven't talked about it in a bit, but I go off on how important blind tastings were in my development as a wino.
Yeah.
Because it allowed me to start to trust my palate and to not not question myself and second guess myself, because routinely my notes would be dead on.
Well, and also if you're being hard on something or really like something and you find out after a while there's a pattern, it's like, okay, now I know that pattern is objective. I wasn't just going, oh, I like cab.
Turn our
oh yeah, right. You weren't just going, oh, I like cab, and therefore I'm going to like this. It's like, okay, I just happen to blind taste 5 cabs and really like all of them.
All right. And without further ado, we are going to pour wine. This has been decanting. What time is it?
A little after 3:15 maybe.
For an hour and 15 minutes.
Awesome. That's a good amount of time.
Yep.
We have 2 people. Excellent. Good to know. Thanks for joining us on this New Year's Day observed.
And early, really early for drinking. Really.
Yeah.
I don't normally drink before dinner.
Well,
Okay,
it's a New
nice
Year.
nose. Very nice nose. Lots of
It
blueberry.
is less, like you mentioned, the amount of Petite Sirah. I'm getting less of the jamminess than I would have expected, but I am getting some of that like brambly.
That smells like jam
pie.
to me, man.
No, I'm saying no. It's definitely jammy, but
Yeah, there's some bramble. There's pie crust.
well, and as we know,
Blueberry. Not normally when I say pie, I'm thinking blackberry. Today it's blueberry.
yeah, definitely, and the pie crust, the graham cracker crust is there in the background as well. I'll taste
Oh,
it.
that's a nice mouthfeel. It's a little juicier because it's
Oh, wow.
so much zen rather than that silky mouthfeel that I absolutely adore. But I like this too. This is a very good wine. I knew it was good going in. I've had scores of bottles from this vineyard. They
Just
are
from
awesome.
the nose, I was surprised. I mean, not that the nose is really good, but the palate was way juicier than I thought the nose would have suggested,
Well,
just right off the bat.
I was expecting it with 75% zen.
Right.
It's gonna
Yeah,
give you that
that's a good
juicy
point.
feel. It's going to overwhelm. From the mouthfeel point of view, it's going to kick everything else's butt. Now,
Yeah.
Petite Sirah can overpower zen on the flavor profile,
It
but
doesn't.
not in the texture in your mouth.
Well, I think this is a really nice balance because, like you said, Petite Sirah can really, really overwhelm even in small amounts, and it doesn't here. This is a really well
Yeah,
integrated.
it's very nice.
They're single or double blind taste testing seems to have done a good
worked in
job
this
here.
case, yeah. And one of the things I like about these guys is they put the entire everything that went into their bottles
Yep.
on their label.
Actual ingredient
if
list.
they use egg whites to
Yeah.
clarify it, they put egg whites on there.
Right.
They're not required to by law, and almost no one does.
Right.
So thank you guys for
Yeah.
keeping people safe and being decent human beings.
I honestly, and in this day and age when it's relatively easy to provide that kind of information, I really wish more wineries were following. I mean, Ridge has been doing this
I wish
for
more
decades.
corporations
Well,
would do it.
yeah.
You got McDonald's putting, or used to put, or maybe still do, putting milk on their French fries,
Right.
and then saying that there wasn't
that they
any
were.
milk.
Yeah.
And they knew that they were lying.
Yep. Yeah, and that is the nice thing about smaller scale wineries or non-corporate owned wineries is that they feel that they have a responsibility to the consumer and they act accordingly.
Right.
Um,
I mean, I'm actually surprised that the company is as large as it is,
Right.
and still as ethical as it is, because it's really hard to stay ethical as you get bigger.
Yes.
And with the current laws that we have that force companies to be cutthroat, and they must
Right.
if they're publicly traded.
Right.
It's one of the reasons my corp will never be publicly traded, because I won't be an asshole.
Right.
Because they've made laws to make me one. It's not happening.
Well, and it's interesting how companies can start with an ethos and retain that if there is no internal what's the word I'm looking overturn. The top down mentality has to remain the same.
Yeah.
Trickle down economics may not work, but the ethos of a company is trickle down.
Yeah.
What's at the top is going to reflect itself at the bottom, and so if the people at the top are still keeping that ethos in mind and it's important to them, it's gonna radiate outward. If they don't care and they're just paying lip service to it, then the employees at the bottom aren't gonna care either.
Right.
So
who just joined us?
It says Michael Fay.
Hey, Michael, how are you? Yeah, it's a good wine.
this is a very good wine, and it's amazing that this is $30.
Yeah.
It's honestly a lot of Ridge wines are priced at what I would consider to be quite a bit cheaper than.
Yes. I mean, other than the Montebello,
yeah.
all their wines are really, for what you get, very
Right.
reasonably priced.
Yeah. It's one of those things where when I was, and I mean, I'm still technically poor, but when I was much poorer than I am now, Ridge wines were one of those ones like, man, I wish I made a little bit more money, because those are the kind of wines that are really punching above their weight class in terms of the price and quality ratio.
You get what you're paying. You get a lot more than you're paying for.
Right. You know, actually, this is a really good reminder. I need to introduce my dad to Ridge, because my dad.
Oh, yeah.
It's not so much that my dad doesn't like California wines. It's that and he's got a point. He's like, there's just so many of them, and I don't really know where to start. And I was thinking, I got him into certain types of grapes. I wonder if I could get him into certain California regions. And drinking this Ridge with you is like, this would be a good one to try to work him into, some stuff.
So on a bit of an aside, in the future, Will and I are going to have to color coordinate, because we are clashing like nobody's business in these two shirts that are just
We
the
used to
wrong
color
shades.
coordinate. We can do it again.
I don't know, you're all very wine colors.
That's true, yeah.
Tablecloth.
I'm a very young wine. Warren's got a couple of years in the bottle.
I'm not sure how to take that.
Take it any way you like.
Oh,
No,
you're
the
about to
shirt,
see a
the
few.
shirt, the shirt, not you. I was also going to mention, because we talked about the grapes on the label.
Yeah.
This is an interesting blend because it's got the Zin and the Petit Syrah, which are pretty box standard. You see a lot of Zin and Petit Syrah in California. Carignan and Mataro are both Rhone variety. Well, Mataro is the Spanish name for Mourvedre, but both Carignan and Mourvedre are Rhone varietals, commonly used in things like Chateauneuf de Pape and a lot of the Southern Rhone blends. And so I thought it was a really interesting mixture, and it got me thinking, like, before I came over here, I was thinking that if Zinfandel had ever made its way up Italy, the Italian coast, to France, I am relatively certain that it would be one of the allowed Rhone varietals. The problem is that pretty much everything that they were planting there when they started doing AOC laws, it's like lockdown, okay, this is what we have here. And it's like, what would have happened in the era of globalization if Zinfandel had made it to the Rhone? I think it would be pretty widely planted because it's the perfect climate for it.
I'd love to see what the old world. I mean, I know what they do with Primitivo
Mm-hmm.
in Italy. I'm sure they could do some nice things.
Oh,
in
absolutely.
Both France and Spain.
I'm actually surprised there's not, in the Languedoc and other parts of southern France, the AOC laws are a lot less strict. And that's when you see them, they'll grow Pinot Noir in the south of France, where it's not really suited for, but you can do it, so why not? And I don't know if I've ever seen a French Zinfandel, but I imagine they could do some really cool stuff down there on that hot Mediterranean
I had
coast.
a really nice French Zinfandel when I
Really?
was in. I've told the story before. I got it in. No, it
Malta?
was Syrah. Never mind. It wasn't Zinfandel.
Okay. I was going to say, they might be out there. I've just never
No,
run
it
across
was.
them myself.
I,
Was it in Malta?
no,
No.
it wasn't Syrah. It was Zinfandel. It wasn't Zinfandel. It was Syrah.
Well, but one of the reasons that I'm saying that I think Zinfandel will do so well there is the similarities with Syrah. The Syrah can be a little bit more acidic and a little bit stemmier, but in terms of the overall, I mean, one of the reasons you like Zinfandel so much is it shares quite a few characteristics with Syrah.
I mean, it was my first love affair with a grape.
Yep.
And now it's
You
no
never
longer
forget your
my
first.
favorite grape, but it was the first grape that I started looking for and that really worked for me.
What's your favorite now, Cab?
Cab.
Yeah.
Cabernet Sauvignon. But I also, it depends on whose,
Right.
I mean, I like most Napa cabs.
Right.
Over $30.
Right.
And I like a handful of McLaren Vale Syrahs.
Right.
Definitely Mala Duker.
Right.
And I always remember it when I'm not in front of a camera, and I can never remember Clarendon Hills.
Clarendon Hills?
Clarendon Hills,
Yeah.
They're really good too. And then that's kind of it. And then
Do you like Penfolds at all?
no, I don't.
You don't like Penfolds.
I
That's
haven't
right.
had their top of the line ones.
Right.
But I'm just like, how high up do I have to go before it gets
Right.
good? And I have this thing where I don't trust people who make bad wine. And Penfolds cheap wines suck.
Right. Yeah.
And so
yeah.
my thing is, if you really are all that, you're not making crappy wine. Why
Right.
don't you do that?
Yeah.
They
No,
do.
that is. A
And
good
they're like,
point.
oh, because there's a big market. And I'm like, yeah, you know what?
That sounds like a justification.
Yeah, I mean, just so, and I know it's a default of
Mm-hmm.
mine that I don't trust people who make bad wine to
Right.
make good wine, and I know a lot of them can and do,
Right.
but they're never going to be people that I trust.
Right.
If I don't like your $40 bottle of wine, I'm not buying your $200 bottle of wine.
Yeah, and I think that's something we've touched on before. Is that if one of the wineries that you and I tend to like are one that's like we were doing with Wenti. It's like their lower tier stuff is really good.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, now we're interested because
you-
you're showing that you care about quality across the board, no matter.
You got me.
Yeah.
Let's try your next one up.
Well, and I will say this again as a recovering poor person and former college student. Whenever you find high quality wines at low prices, it's really it's not just gratifying. It's this whole like, oh, like I can get good stuff.
Yeah.
It's possible. I used to, when I worked at Wine Lab, we never priced the lowest price for a full bottle that we were only serving by the bottle was $20, because we get a lot of wines that were wholesaling for like $6, $7, $8, and so we're like, well, if we mark them too low, people are going to wonder what's wrong with them. So we actually had to mark them up a little bit more than we would have otherwise. But I wasn't gonna charge somebody $30 for a $6, $7, $8 bottle of wine. So I was like, let's just charge 20. Let's have a selection of $20 wines. They won't be available by the glass, but they'll be available by the bottle. And we had grad students and college students who were like, we can afford a $20, couple or whatever. Be like, yeah, $10 for for
Each,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they were really gratified. I was like, I want people who are on a budget to be able to come in and enjoy themselves, and I want people who want to drop a lot of money on a really good bottle of wine be able to enjoy themselves. Egalitarianism.
And the thing is, I just want good wine.
Yeah.
So, I'm happy to pay $240 for Alto Moncoya's top wine.
Right.
But I'm also just as happy to pay $30 for this, which is
Right.
almost as good.
Well, that's the thing is you're on the hunt for quality, and the
Right.
only time where
I
money
don't
is
care
important.
about the money.
Well, you care about the money insofar as that money is a tool to help you expand your taste, but you're not the kind of person who's going to justify your purchase based on the amount that it is. It's like, no, I have that much money, so I can get that thing that I like. Not I like that thing because I spent this much money on it.
Because
Yeah.
I do know people, and I've been drinking with them, and they'll buy a bad bottle for a lot of money, and they'll go on and on about how great it is.
And they'll convince themselves how wonderful
and
it is.
I'll just bite my tongue because I don't want to say, bro, you just
Right.
dropped $300 on a crappy wine.
The thing is, though, is I find myself wondering, at some level, are they aware that the wine is bad, or have they actually literally convinced
I think
themselves that
that
the wine is
that
good?
varies from person to person.
Right,
I
yeah.
think some of them are aware, but they don't want to be embarrassed in front of everybody. And
Right,
some
the
of them
emperor's new clothes.
Some of them are clueless.
Right.
30% of all human beings are placebo responders.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons snake oil salesmen did so well.
Yep.
Because people say, I got better. Well, 30% of them did. They didn't stay better, but they got better. And, so they would just go to the next town where
Right.
people are still talking about how much better they feel. And they just got to make sure they're far away.
What's
a
the
month later.
percentage of people that when they become aware that it's placebo effect still get a
100% of the people who are placebo responders
Really?
still respond when they know they're getting
Wow.
placebo. That was the strangest study I'd ever seen. Is they did a study where the guy doing the study, the doctor,
Yeah.
felt like it would be wrong to give people the placebo and have them not know it.
Right.
Ethically, he didn't like that with the particular thing he was doing.
Yeah.
So he let them all know.
Yeah.
And he saw the same 30% improvement from everybody who on it who was a
Wow.
placebo responder that if they hadn't been one.
On the one
Shocking.
hand, I'm a little jealous because then you could take sugar pills and
Right.
But on the other hand, it makes me worried for them because what else are they responding to in their environments? If your mind is that suggestible, it's probably suggestible along a lot of fronts,
Yeah.
which might not be
I
good
mean,
for you.
I haven't done a whole bunch of searching on that.
Right. No, I mean the human mind is I mean, even if you don't respond to placebos, the human mind is very suggestible. It's one of the reasons that eyewitness testimony is one of those shaky things. How well does a given person remember an event?
Least accurate evidence given in court.
Yeah, exactly.
But back to the wine.
Oh, yeah.
because, when we stopped talking about the wine, we lost all of our live viewers. So that's a thing we need to be aware of.
Are you getting more of a mineral component in the oil?
Oh yeah, this is definitely minerally. I mean,
It wasn't there originally, but now it's like gravel, slate, like almost dusty. It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's
It
like-
smells like dark stone.
it's like they ran the wine over stone.
Yeah, it really is. And I was not getting that when you first poured it. Were you?
Well,
I was
it's more
getting-
prominent now, but
Yeah.
I noticed it right away.
Which is kind of the opposite, because like whenever you and I would have Priorats that were very slaty, they were slaty at the beginning, and then they would open up more fruity as time went along. And this is kind of the reverse of that.
Yeah, this one was pretty open to begin with. It hasn't changed a lot.
Yeah, but wow, that complexity shift was very striking. It's the equivalent of like when the sun's been behind the clouds all day and all of a sudden they disappear and you're like, where did all this light come from?
I'm not having quite the same experience
Okay.
that you are.
Well, I definitely was not picking
And
up
see,
on
that's
that.
because I'm not a placebo responder.
Well-
So when Will tells me what his experience, if I'm not experiencing it, I'm not experiencing it.
Well, and also, I mean, it's one of the things that's always been really cool about drinking wine with you is that we will have certain things where we're like completely in line with each other, and then other points I don't want to say diverge, but like you're picking up certain things that I can't see, and vice versa. And that's what's always really cool about drinking. Wine tasting would be boring if everybody had the same palate. It's always really cool to see what other people bring to the table, literally and
Yeah.
figuratively. And when you're sitting around with a bunch of wine geeks, I've mentioned this numerous times, oak is my weak point. I'm always really happy to hang out with people. Like Katie at Wine Lab has one of the best palates I've ever run across, and she can pick out all sorts of subtleties that I'm not as good at. And so I would just sit and just listen, take notes, be like, okay, this is what I should be looking for this particular thing. Did the notes that you found or anything that you found talk about the oak on this?
No.
Or any oak?
No,
Did they
which is
use it?
surprising. They didn't say. You know, it's not as
They must have
oaky as
used
a lot
some.
of what we drink, but
I'm guessing
that
mostly.
nose tells me oak.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that that graham cracker crust definitely indicates some kind of oak
it did
character.
not. I mean, I wouldn't be stunned if it wasn't much time at
Mhm.
oak, 6 months to a year, but
Well, I'm guessing that it was probably a mixture of new and neutral, and maybe more
I
neutral
would say-
than new.
and it tastes more American than French to me. But that I'm just guessing there.
Yeah, I could see it. Like,
It's not as peppery as French oak.
no, and it doesn't have the same. The French oak really lends that vanilla, that the caramel, sometimes even figgy, even in red wine, sort of like a
And
figgy
this-
character.
This is really not very tannic at all.
No, which is surprising given the blend.
Yeah.
I mean, not that Zins are
Which is the other reason I don't think it spent a ton of time in
no, especially not new oak. No, I mean Zin, the nice thing about Zin is that Zin is very tannic, but it's usually lower in acid, so the tannins don't seem as in your face as they
Yeah.
do with like a cab or something like that. But with
But
Petit
this
Syrah,
I'm barely feeling. There's a little bit of tannins on my teeth,
yeah,
and that's like it.
no, it's a very soft wine without being flabby or it has great
It
structure.
makes me think of Washington State.
Yeah, I can
Right,
definitely
yeah.
see that. Yeah, the one I always come back to in comparisons with this is the Lake Cole 41, that amazingly extracted Syrah I had from, I think it was the Columbia Valley. But yeah, this is, and also it's worth noting, this is from Sonoma, which by and large, and this is a gross generalization, by and large is cooler than Napa. I've had Cabernet Sauvignons.
Unless you're in Howell Mountain.
Yeah, exactly. And you know it's also the thing about any of those places is there are cooler climate and warmer climate subsections of any of those regions. So you know without knowing anything about the site.
Some of it on the same property.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, picking up that bramble from the Petit Syrah generally is going to indicate a cooler climate. Whenever you have a cooler climate, you're going to pick up more vegetal notes in the wine, just because it doesn't reach the same level of ripeness. When you have those super warm climate Petit Syrahs is when you get the raspberry jam and the super red fruit in your face, just bursting with summer fruit. This is more restrained.
The only thing that could make this wine better, in my opinion, is if it did have a peppery finish.
Yeah.
But it doesn't.
Yeah, if it had that quintessential Petit Syrah, like cracked black pepper on the back end, that would. But I mean, this is a really neat blend, and Ridge makes fantastic wines.
Who we got on with us right now?
It didn't update the names, but the last person to join was Donald D. Moulter.
Okay. Well, hello.
How's it going, bro?
Do you want me to top you up or?
Let's get some more wine.
Sure.
And we'll see how much it's changed
Yeah.
since the initial pour.
Oh, look, a little bit of tartrate crystals.
A little softer. Still no pepper.
Ooh, the aroma has shifted yet again for me.
Yeah,
Maybe the mineral was there and I just wasn't paying attention.
Just the slightest hint of funk has crept in. that
Yeah.
wasn't there.
Yeah, no, it's usually, and again, this is kind of in reverse. It's usually the funk is up front and then it blows off. And
But
now-
there's no funk in the palate at all.
No.
If somebody who doesn't like funk, you have to actually want to get the funk on this because it's real slight. I had to he said things had changed. I'm like, well, let me check a little close. I had to turn the glass a little to get this portion to go so
Right.
it would come up. And then I was like, all right, I see what he's talking about. But,
Yeah.
But if you don't like funk, just don't stick your nose in it. You'll be fine.
I need to look this up because I'm not sure and I could be completely off base. But I would like to find out if Ridge is part of the Rhone Rangers Society in California, which is the it's a collective of wineries that were devoted to growing Rhone varietals and making Rhone, specifically Rhone style, both red and white wines. And because of the grapes that they're growing, and some of the
They mentioned the Bordeaux's, but
Right.
they didn't mention anything else.
yeah, I need to look that up, and I feel like I feel like what Ridge is either part of the Roan Rangers, or when I worked at a wine store, it would be right next to all of the wines that were part of the Roan Rangers, and so I may have mentally mixed those
I had
things
not
up.
heard that term until today, so I can't help you at all.
Well, I should start looking into that because given your love of Chateauneuf de Pape and certain other Rhone style blends, are there any California Grenaches that you like?
None that jump out at me.
Okay.
It was like, oh, I see it, I must buy it.
Right,
So,
right,
you know,
right.
I don't really have a favorite California Grenache.
Right. Yeah. No.
I have basically have a Spanish Grenache
Right.
that I love, and that's it.
Yeah. I guess because of Alto Moncayo, I always thought that you had a bigger sweet tooth for Grenache than you do.
Nope.
But thinking back,
It's
it's
just them.
basically just that one. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because
Sorry,
Oh,
Patty
of course.
Potter just said.
Hey, Patty.
that she can't hear us very well. So
Oh, no.
let's see
Oh.
if we can adjust the.
well, thanks for letting us know that.
Yeah.
I went to middle school with Patty.
Oh, cool.
Known each other a very
I
long
wish
time.
I had middle school friends on this channel.
Oh, Patty's cool as. Oh, I was about to say a bad word.
Cool as heck.
Yeah, that's it. Cool as heck.
I wish there were a way that we could actually know our volume levels.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't really have a way of getting feedback because the microphone doesn't tell us anything about its internal state.
It's a good microphone, though.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if maybe the adapter that we have plugging in isn't doing the job.
Right.
Patty
But-
says it's still a little muffled after
Huh.
the adjustments.
Well, that sucks.
All I can say is turn it up.
Yeah, we're
Turn it up.
we are still ironing out kinks here and there.
Does this come out? Maybe I can just get it closer to you guys.
That might work.
Well, it's a little closer, yeah.
There you go.
It's still out of frame.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's out of frame.
Absolutely.
And this is the fun part about, doing live stuff.
Yes.
We may edit all this out of the actual finished
Right.
product that we put up on our YouTube channel, but you get to see how the sausage gets stuffed.
Yeah. the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh, and here we are.
So I will mention it does have a little bit of a feedback on the live version here.
Oh.
Okay.
It's just like a microphone symbol and
Right.
it's a green bar.
Okay.
And what does it tell us? Can we increase it? Can you move that up and see if that works? Like with your
No,
finger,
I
just
can
slide
only
up.
It's
seem
just
to
showing
mute-
feedback.
Yeah,
right?
I can mute it or
Yeah.
leave it on.
Well, don't mute it.
No, it's probably just showing the overall volume level, not anything we have control
Sometimes
over.
there's EQ and you
Yeah.
can do something with it, but I guess not today. I will try to find a better adapter for next week. I just took the adapter I could find. My wife
Right.
wasn't home yet. She's the one who's in charge of all that stuff.
AV Club.
We'll get it right.
Yep.
We'll get it right.
One of these days. Yeah, the other thing about Ridge that's interesting is they have vineyards in places that aren't as well known. And I remember looking up some of the
It's still super juicy.
some of the regions where in California where they grow grapes, and it's I want to say it's like Santa Rita, yeah, Santa Clara, Santa Rita Highlands is one of them. It's like these areas that are, I mean, they're established and they have a pedigree, but they're not ones that you see all that often.
Right.
And
not
it
Paso Robles.
exactly, yeah. So, it made me get it. Being a fan of Ridge made me get interested. It's like, wow, there's all these regions of California, because California is a massive state, and I don't know exactly what the total land area of its wine regions are, but if you look at the map of California, you break it down by like northern, central, and southern, it's mind-boggling how many different climatic zones and how many different areas there are. I mean, you could write numerous books on California just like you could on Italy and never
People
run out
have.
of material. Oh yeah, absolutely. So whenever people tell me they don't like California wine, I'm like, the entire state?
Yeah.
That's not possible.
I mean, it's so different. Some of
It really is. I mean, look at Ridge versus Wente versus
Schaefer.
yeah.
Paul Haas.
all coming from the same
yeah.
state, and I wouldn't. I
Howell
mean,
Mountain.
yeah,
The-
yeah.
100 acre. I mean, it's just.
100 Acre is something else.
Yeah, we have to do that one soon.
Yes.
Is that
We do.
in the woods?
It's called the 100 Acres Wraith.
Yes.
So I always pictured an evil Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
Which,
Like-
now that okay, the first, I think 4 books
Uh-huh.
are in the public domain.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the first one hit last year. So, like, there are people working on Winnie the Pooh horror movies.
Right.
Because Winnie the Pooh is a character you can now do without permission.
Yep.
You can't put him in a red shirt, a half shirt.
Right.
Because Disney owns the clothing. But,
Oh, interesting.
Well, because
Oh.
all the stuffed animals in the original were naked.
Right.
So Disney threw some clothes on them and
Right.
they got a copyright on that image, which not even a copyright. They've got all that's trademarked. So,
Right.
So you can never use those images.
Right.
You can make you can reimagine Pooh to your heart's content. Just don't make him look like anything Disney did. Because
Right,
they own
that makes sense.
Trademark on that still.
Yeah, they didn't trademark the
Make him a
character. They
wine
trademarked the
drinker
look.
and it'd be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make him look a little sloppy. Don't put him in a red shirt.
Yeah. Or do that thing with the meme where he's wearing a tuxedo and a monocle.
Or if you're going to put him in a red shirt, it should be a Star Trek red shirt.
But then that means he's gonna die.
Well, that depends. Is he next gen or is he TOS?
True.
If he's TOS, he's a dead mofo.
Right.
If he's next gen, he's a command officer.
That's true. So it's do you ever see the movie Galaxy Quest with Tim Allen?
Dude, who are you talking to?
Okay, just making sure.
There's no chance I could have missed that movie.
Maybe you're plucky comic relief. I could be plucky.
That's right. That was from that. It was also done in the last Action Hero.
Yes.
That was an older movie. So
Right.
I don't know if they stole it or not, but wait, what if I'm the comic relief?
Relief,
Yeah,
yeah.
dude, you're the comic relief.
Yeah.
James Provost just joined us, and he
Hey.
also has mentioned the audio is rough today.
Okay. Well,
Change the.
is there anything we can
Switch
change?
them?
Yeah, we don't actually need it on. This has a really good microphone, so don't bother putting that one into the iPad. Just pop it over now. We may have some issue with the level from the beginning to the end. Because
Well,
we
yeah.
just pulled the microphone.
Sure.
But let's see what happens now. How's that, James? And now James I've known since like high school, and so we're seeing all my
You have
old
all
friends
these school
from
friends
Mass-
popping on your
I do,
your Vine
I
channel.
do.
That's awesome.
Many people who actually saw my band.
Oh wow! When you would play,
I'm pretty
when you
sure
had the
James.
open
I
practices.
don't know if James saw us, but he was fully. I mean, he said stuff that makes me know he was aware of. Oh, he did see my band. Okay.
That is way better, Patty said.
Awesome.
Oh, good.
Well, that's good to know.
So, okay, we fixed it for that. Hopefully, we didn't screw it up for the more permanent.
Right. Well, you said that the iPad has pretty good.
It does.
Yeah,
It does.
so-
We've done some without the microphone. That were
Right.
just fine.
Yeah, it's one of the things I've noticed is I've been recording. You know, when I learn a new song on guitar, I like to play it into my cell phone and listen back to it and see if there's anything I can improve on. And I've been doing that with my smartphone since I guess probably like 2015 or 2016. And you know, every couple of years I get a new smartphone, and you can listen to my YouTube channel and just hear the difference in audio quality.
Well, I may just go ahead and buy another one of these that plugs straight in.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
The issue is obviously with the extender that I have to use on this one.
Right.
And they're not very expensive.
I used to, you know, I'd be playing in my kitchen on a summer night and have the window open, and when I finished a song in that 5-second gap between when I stopped playing and when I hit stop on my cell phone, with the music gone, the phone would pick up on the sound of crickets outside my window.
Oh, that's funny.
And I don't know what the fine tuning of the audio technology is, but it doesn't do that anymore. Like if there's crickets outside my window, you can barely hear them, but it doesn't start going, okay, there's an ambient sound, let me
Let me
glom
go
onto
find
that.
it,
Yeah.
I don't know why you're talking about that. Made me think that, when I was in my 20s, I used to sit in my front yard underneath a tree and practice pentatonic scales from one end to the other
Nice.
on my bass with the with a metronome set at top speed. People would walk by, and every now and then I'd get an old musician be like, "Boy, that's not natural." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Nobody should play that fast." And I'm like, "Yeah, I play metal. I gotta play
You
that fast."
were doing your version of scales.
Well, it was scales.
Yeah, it was scales,
It was
yeah.
scales. I mean, part of it was to make sure there was a point where I could hold my guitar out and you could just point at a fret and I could tell you
Right.
what the note was. I can't do that anymore. In fact, I kind of bummed me out the other day when I picked up my guitar and I'm like, oh crap! If it isn't a dot, I don't know what
Right,
it is.
yeah.
You know, I mean, dots are still at C,
Right,
and D,
right.
and E, and yeah, but
Scales are the calisthenics of the music world.
Yeah.
I had a jazz piano teacher who did 2 to 3 hours of scales a day.
That was what I did till I got really fast, and I was like, I don't need to do this anymore.
Yeah, no, he just did it the way somebody will hit the heavy bag or do push-ups.
Yeah,
It's
when I
just
first
what you do to
started,
keep
it was like,
yourself-
okay, here's this scale that gets me from one end of my fretboard to the other, and I'll go through all the major scales, and then I'll do it in all the minor scales, and then it'll help me know where the thing about that is most people play a song in one position.
Right.
And I didn't like that.
Right.
I like moving up and down the fretboard.
Sure.
It's more interesting as a bass player.
Yeah.
So that was why I did that, was to make myself, everybody knows the first position
Right.
really well. And this, if you're a metal player, you know the second position pretty darn well too.
Right.
Because that's where 90% of everything happens. But then you get third, fourth, fifth,
Yeah.
what's going on.
Right.
And that was why I played these scales.
Yeah.
And when I first did it, was at the slowest setting. Tick, 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 tick. And
Just
then
to get the rhythm.
over the course of a couple of months, I would just go faster each time I practiced until I was at the top.
Sure.
And people just thought, people who played metal were like, yeah, of course you do. But people who didn't were just like, why would you play that fast?
My dad,
Because it's what I do.
years ago, he said, I've come to the conclusion that I like bands that have interesting bass lines in their songs. And I began paying attention. I was like, you know what? Man's got a point.
He probably
Because
loves the Beatles then.
he does love the
They have
Beatles.
the best bass lines of any pop band ever.
He absolutely loves
Paul
the Beatles.
McCartney is a freaking giant bass player and no one knows it.
Right. Oh no, I was probably 14 when my dad got me Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band for Christmas. I think it was
Wow.
that year. And then for every birthday or Christmas afterwards, it was basically all the Beatles albums that he thought.
So
were
you
good.
only missed it by like 30 years.
Yeah,
When
pretty
it
much.
came out.
Yeah. What I didn't know was that Sgt. Pepper was the first album to have the lyrics on the back of the
No.
vinyl
Did
vinyl
not
thing.
know. I'm not a Beatles fan. And it's funny, I was just talking about this
Last night, yeah, we were talking about it.
That, that was you, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
there were all these bands that Kiss loves.
Yes.
And so I went and listened to all of them and tried to get into them, and I couldn't get into any of it. Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons are Beatles fans. And I'm like, yeah, the Beatles are all right, but they don't do a lot for me. And Paul is a huge Zeppelin fan, and I've never really related to Zepp the way most of the people in my generation do. They just don't do anything for me. And then Peter Criss was a jazz player, and that
The
doesn't
swing
do
drummer.
anything.
Yep.
And then we got Ace Frehley, who's like into Beck and Clapton.
Right.
I just didn't like any part of that 60s
Right.
stuff. And it's really weird to me because when I think of these are their influences, this is what created the melange that is my favorite rock and roll bands.
Right.
I don't like any of it. I don't know, but I love it when it's all put in one place and these four dudes pump it out.
Well, and that's the thing is that, your influence, you're not necessarily imitating or copying them, that you took their style and incorporated into something specific that you did. So 4 other guys could have been influenced by the Beatles and Led Zeppelin and
Come to a
Beck.
totally different place.
Right, and you wouldn't have liked it nearly as much. So
Oh, wow.
it was the harmony of those guys.
Okay, there's some pepper finally.
Really?
You might want to decant this puppy for 2 hours. That last
Okay.
sip was really good compared to the one before it.
Now, I do want to say, for people who find Zin too heavy or who aren't normal,
Oh, wow.
this is not a
Zin
typical.
too heavy. That's amusing to
Well,
me.
it's a very
Right.
very in terms of mouthfeel and body, it's one of the heaviest red grapes out there. It's not heavy the way that Cab and Syrah are because
Right,
it
the
doesn't have the
ones that I
same
really
tannic
drink,
power.
yeah.
Yeah. This is not a typical Zin. This is a heavy-bodied wine that drinks like a medium-bodied wine. It's deceptive in its lightness or its apparent lightness. So Zin fans will like this because it has all the Zin markers that you're looking for. People who I don't know if there are people who really dislike Zin out there. Probably are.
There probably are, though I've never had anyone say, I don't like Zen.
No, I
I've
was going to
never
say
heard
Zin
those
doesn't
words.
really it doesn't really inspire
Hatred.
dislike.
Yeah.
It might inspire apathy, but
Right,
never dislike.
dislike. I've never heard a single person say, I don't like Zen.
Yeah,
No.
Though I mean, it's funny though. Some people will. I think what it is they'll have one specific instance, and that sets their mind against it.
Yeah.
For
You had a bad wine.
and also it usually happened when they were young. It usually happened when they were like 18, 19,
Oh, that's why I don't
20.
drink gin.
Exactly. Yeah. Why my dad doesn't drink
I was 12.
cider. Oh, you were 12.
I was 12.
I thought you were a little older than
Oh,
that.
no,
Wow.
no. This boy grew up in a bad neighborhood. No. I was out and on the edge at a really young age. age.
Gin at 12, man.
Yeah.
Aversion reaction to gin at 12, not just an experience
I had
with
way
gin,
too much gin at 12.
a formative experience with gin.
Yeah, you don't want to necessarily have lived maybe the first 20 years of my life. After that, you probably do. But,
I don't know, that 18 to 20 period sounds pretty exciting.
I mean, it wasn't not fun. But the human being that I am today recognizes the human being I was then wasn't a very nice human being.
Yeah, well, you got to smash into a couple of guardrails to figure out where the road is.
I beat the shit out of those guardrails.
But yeah, no.
But now I keep it inside the yellow lines.
Yes, you do. This is not what I was expecting. It started out way more.
I've probably had 2 cases of this particular wine.
You know it better than I
Yeah,
do,
yeah.
and I know that I've had it with you. I can't remember the last time we had it together, but I want to say it was probably back in.
It was before COVID.
Well, it's definitely before COVID. I want to say that it was back during like the heyday of your Zin years.
Oh,
it was
it
like
probably
2015.
Because I discovered, and Zin was perfect. I mean, Zin, yeah, sure.
Mhm.
Ridge was perfect for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because it let me go up the Zin and then on over to...
No, they cover a wide variety
To
of
their
styles
Montebello.
and I mean they have blends, they have single varietals. It's a really, and because they're covering different regions, you're seeing a cross section of different California, from Sonoma all the way down to Santa Rita Highlands and all these different places. So it's like, okay, these different regions do things differently. Certain things work better in some areas than others.
And one of the things that Ridge says is that they really like single vineyards.
Mhm.
Although I'm pretty damn sure this one's not a single vineyard.
No, I don't think so.
But they do. They really like to match the climate to the grape
Yep.
that they're making and come up with the perfect kind of fusion between the grape and where they're growing it.
Yeah,
So,
no.
and a lot of places they grow what they want to grow and they don't really worry about what's perfect there. It's one of my issues
Right.
with American wines. They don't have that problem in other countries. They don't grow grapes that can't grow well and taste like crap if you turn them into wine outside of America. I don't even
Right.
think Australians do that.
Well, that's the thing is that the reason that French and Spanish and Italian demarcated zones have grapes that they can grow is they've had 700, 800 years to figure out what works well there. And in America is very different climatically from Europe. So there's figuring out what grows here at all, and then there's figuring out, okay, what can we grow versus what grows well. We're still ironing out some of those kinks.
And the reality is that we don't keep generational knowledge the way
No.
the Europeans do. Grandpa said this was good, but
Right.
screw Grandpa, he didn't know anything.
Right.
I mean, every one of us is convinced that this generation knows more than the one before it.
Right.
Trust me, they don't.
Well, and I think that
Except maybe in physics.
right. I think that where America is heading with wine is that it's, if you think about it, back in the Middle Ages, they didn't even necessarily know what varietals were. It's just we've got these grapes here, and it was
Let's
only
get drunk.
yeah. And in the 18 and 1900s, they began going, hey, like these grapes are different from those grapes. The leaves are different. The fruit is different. These are different varieties, and that's when they began cataloging this stuff. So the fact that we even have the knowledge that we do is important. Now, as you said, there are plenty of growers or plenty of wineries who'll just be like, we want to grow Chardonnay, we want to grow Cab. Maybe those aren't necessarily the best suited for this property. But
I like Nebbiolo, damn it, we're going to grow it.
Right, and then you get the weird ones who are just like, I want to grow these off the wall things, and it's the climate suited for it. I think that as time goes on, we're going to see a more microclimate, mesoclimate driven approach. Obviously, it's not going to be the case across the board. There are always going to be people who want to do what they want to do.
As long as there's liquid smoke, there will be
Yeah.
people who will ignore all the rules.
But that's what makes the difference between the old world and new world interesting to me. Is that in the old world it's like we have this respected tradition and we follow it for a reason. In the new world, it's like tradition is good, but let's throw some things out the window. And there are bad and good expressions of both types of winemaking. You can see old world producers who are literally saying, well, my great-great-great-great-grandfather grew these
Right.
grapes here, so we have to. And in America, it's toss all established tradition out the window, and it's like, okay, maybe there's a nice in-between.
Russia tosses everything out the window.
We haven't had a Russian wine yet.
And we're not gonna.
Right.
We're just not gonna. Not until things change.
Well, and I don't even know if you can get Russian wine in America.
I don't care.
Well, yeah. But
We don't sell books in Russia anymore. We used to make good money in Russia. Now
Yeah.
we don't. Nope.
I
Don't drink any Russian wines.
the nice thing about that is that I don't think Russian wine would be much to your taste anyway, because it's mostly sweet whites.
I was gonna say it won't be any different than the Ukrainian wine we have
Exactly.
had.
Yeah. Probably be worse. So
Although, I mean, as far as sweet wines go, I recognize that it was a decent sweet wine. I'm just not a sweet wine dude.
right. Wow. So in terms of the journey that wine took me on, this is a really neat one. Just because I don't feel like any particular part of that was the same as the part before it. It was a very, very diverse tasting journey. I think Warren's was a little more consistent.
Yeah, I mean, it did change over the course of the hour that we've been here
Right.
talking to you, and the time, the extra time decanting, then
Right.
and poured in the glass and drinking slowly. All of that did make a difference.
Sure.
But it does sound like Will got more of the evolution than I did.
Well, it was. It's
But
like
it did evolve.
Yeah,
It did.
I was comparing it to the sun going in and out from behind the clouds. That's how it felt to me. Is that towards the end of that first glass, I was getting a ton of mineral, and then when you poured the second glass, it was like, wow, okay, the fruit character is coming back, and then like you said, towards the end, the peppery character was kicking in a little bit. A lot of different stuff going on in this $30 bottle of wine. Who would have known?
Well, you see, and that's what I look for when I drink is complexity.
Totally.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
there's stuff that come in some expensive bottles of Pinot Noir.
Right.
I don't care. They're not complex.
Right.
It's like, oh, it's like it's the epitome of what we do. And I'm
Right.
like, good for you. It
Yeah. Didn't do anything.
doesn't
for me.
change.
Yep. Yeah.
And so-
Oh yeah. The predator syndrome.
Yeah.
The flat line. Yeah.
I don't want my last sip of wine to be the same as my first sip. I mean,
Nope.
if I wanted that, I'd drink freaking Coke.
Yep. No, it's actually it's one of the things that I've been needing to do with my dad is decant more, because we'll open these Margaux and nice Bordeaux's, and I mean the first glass is perfectly fine, but I'm thinking like the last glass is going to be the best one. And I
Right,
hate
why not
that.
start with the last
Yeah,
glass?
yes.
That's what we do. That's
Yep.
why I own I don't know 12 decanters.
Right. You own how many aerators do you own?
I don't even know, man. I can't find narrators I've never seen before. I'm like, huh. Oh, it's funny. I got one of those really nice electronic bottle.
Oh yeah. Yep. Mhm.
And I'm like, those work great on new wines, but I only drink dusty old wines.
Yeah, they're
And
gonna tear those corks
right.
apart.
And so I'm just like, what do I do with this?
Right.
I'm not going to use it because I don't ever drink brand new wine.
Right.
I just don't. I tend to buy wines and sit on them for at least 3 years.
Right.
And generally I'm buying wines that I find with age on them on top of that. This 2018, I say that, and I'm like, but I got some 2019s and 2020s that are calling my name loud. But right now I'm drinking a lot less because I'm still working on, I gained... I don't even want to talk about how much weight I gained on Christmas. But as of this morning, it's all gone. But I can start over again.
Right.
Losing that 10 pounds that I've lost 57 times.
Right.
One more time. All right. We're talking. Wait, it's time to be done. Thank you very much for joining us on this wine journey. I hope that you guys learned something from us today. I hope we didn't just, talk silliness.
They learned something. Drink Ridge. They're
Drink
awesome.
Ridge. It's a great vineyard. One of my 3 or 4 favorites.
Absolutely. Yep. We
So
love those
thank
guys.
you very much for joining us. Cheers.
Sláinte.